All right, guys, with that, we are live. So today we are going to talk about something that we get a lot of calls, a lot of questions about, that for a long time we really didn't have some good solutions for customers. And the subject of today, Matt, is rub rail.
Rub rail.
So the big thing about rub rail, let's start with what it is and what it's used for. So I'm going to throw over to Matt here, and what I'd like to do is switch over to the screen to kind of talk about what rub rail's purpose is and what it's used for in building a boat.
Yeah, just a super high level, like top-down view. I mean, you've got two different construction styles for boats. You have two-piece boats and three-piece boats, but either construction style, what you're going to have is a top piece coming together with the bottom piece, creating a seam that goes all the way around the perimeter of the boat.
Which you can see here on the screen, right? Here's the two-piece and three-piece. We've got this drawing we can throw to, and you've got the hole in the liner or the cap.
Right.
And what Matt's talking about, you can see right here where these two meet, you have basically a seam.
A seam, yeah. It's a seam between the fiberglass that the boat builders go back and they clean up, and that that's where the two sections get attached together, and then that is covered by the rub rail, which is dual purpose for docking and protecting the boat from any obstructions that might be in the way.
Yep, absolutely. We've all been coming in too hot sometimes.
You don't want to come in too hot.
Thank God for the rub rail. Yeah, I mean, really, that kind of helps solve the purpose. Most people who've searched and found this video or watching live, they're boat outfitters customers. What a rub rail is used for and what the purpose is. You just have a project that you're not able to find it, right?
You're either looking to replace the rub rail that you have, or you're looking for a new one to go on your boat that might work for the situation.
You're doing a new build and you're looking for something. So, theoretically, what we would try to have a customer do is, you can see on Boat Outfitters, we have 7 different rub rails. And Matt, those are the 7?
Those are the 7 most common kits that Taco's sold.
Okay.
They're the 7 most used kits that are out in the field right now per Taco's actual sales numbers.
Yep. And quite different from our normal slick, sexy photos we have here on the site. This is just kind of a diagram, and the reason for that is we really want you to see the profile of the extrusion to make sure that it works for your application. You
got to see the profile. You got to see the profile of the insert, because both are two individual parts that come together to really make these rub rails what they are.
Yep. So you can see here we've included dimensions and diagrams, and once you find one of these kits, which is the most cost-effective solution in most cases, you're able to click in that you find this profile that looks right and get a little bit more details about it, right? You've got, here's a product photo. This is how it's shipped directly from Taco. Comes wound up in this box. You've got the insert in some cases, if the rub rail has an insert, that you're able to heat and apply it to the boat.
Yeah, and one thing that's important to note, these kits are the vinyl kits. So you're not going to have any of your stainless steel inserts or the stainless rub rail, insert kits, because they can't be rolled up. They can be formed to fit around a curve on a boat, but rolling them up just isn't an option. So that's why you're not going to see those in the kits here.
Sure. So again, you get to this point, and if this works for you, then that's awesome, right? I mean, you're able to identify.
That's a home run.
You're able to identify the extrusion. You can see, dependent upon, the color that you want for the insert, as well as the length of the boat, either 50 or 70 foot. You're all set. You're ready to go. One of the questions that I would have is, well, how do I even know which one it is? It's not any of the 7 kits that we have on the website. It doesn't look like any of those.
Right.
How do I know what was used on my Key West at one point that I need to replace, right? So we have a resource for that. You can see down here on the bottom of the page underneath drawings. When you come to the page, normally you're going to see the description, but a lot of our product pages, we have some additional assets for the customer, whether it be a drawing of our part or the part itself to get some dimensions. So this is really good to know overall about our website and the functionality. But specifically under this, there's this rub rail replacement selection guide.
Right.
So this is the Bible when it comes to
Taco rub rail.
What rub rail do I need for my boat? So I've already opened that up that we can transition over to this rub rail section, and I'll scroll back up to the top here so we can see some important key components of it. Number 1, here's what you got before you begin. So it's got an area that you can estimate the length of the boat and how much do I need. So Matt, kind of walk them through that, right?
Yeah, this is a diagram that just shows you how to measure the boat that you have, so you can determine how much rub rail you need to replace, right? It's a way for you to not have to remove what's already on there, lay it out, measure it with a tape measure when it, as you're going down the line. It's typically 2 times the length, 2 times the width is what Taco shows in the diagram here.
So perfect. So you've identified how much you need, And now I know that it's a rub rail that Boat Outfitters carries as a kit on their website, and I'm ready to go.
Right.
But
assuming it's not a kit that's on the website,
what do?
That's what this catalog is for.
Great. So, what you do here, and it talks about tools and resources, different color guides here, but the sus of it is, all right, I need to figure out what rub rail was originally on my boat. And I'll give you a real case example of a customer we're working with right now. He has a lures boat that, again, has had some issues with the rub rail or is doing a refit that he needs to replace the entire rub rail, or in some cases it's just the insert of the rub rail that got dinged up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, real use case, this customer, when they call us, it's none of the kits that are on the site. What do I do? So we're able to go in and show him this guide to where we can scroll down and find lures, right, which is at the bottom of this page here, and it gives you a couple different pages where you can confirm the extrusion.
So what it's showing you here is the various different rub rails and rub rail, like you have two pieces to the rub rail typically. You have the rub rail itself and the insert. This is going to give you the part numbers for the different inserts that Taco has supplied to lures for their boats in the past.
Perfect. So, kind of switching back over here, going through. So we see lures right now is on page 10. So we're going to scroll down to page 10 and take a look. Now, one of the things that we really caution a lot of customers with is that don't just go off of, it says lures is this extrusion, or I Googled it and found that lures use this extrusion, because guess what? A lot of times, you aren't the original owner of the boat.
Well,
right?
One, you're not the original owner of the boat, maybe. Two, lures may have used two different, complete different profiles across the same model.
Within 1 month.
So it's important to actually go in and review the profile that's within the sheet here and compare it to what's on the boat physically to confirm that you're looking at the right product.
Sure. So, with this customer, again, that's where we've referenced him over, gave us a part number. We said, hey, you got to check the guide, make sure this is right. Was able to confirm that this extrusion, and you can see here, again, the dimensions that are on this profile, that, yeah, this is it. It really looks like that, to where maybe the construction of a lures, you mentioned that sport fish.
Yeah, so this is one of the bigger rub rails that you're going to find. It's a larger boat. You've got a little bit more fiberglass coming together. You're going to find a larger gap in between there. So you notice, I think the dimension says it's what, 1 3/4 inches tall or so. That's definitely on the bigger side of the rub rails that Taco offers. I mean, I even have a
back over. Yeah, let's take a look here. So switch back over.
I have a sample here of that exact piece, and I'll turn it around so you guys can see it here. But there's your profile, and this, I mean, you see, it's a pretty big section of rub rail. And what you'll notice in the photo or in the online, this section here is where your insert's going to go. So the insert is actually very small in this, but it was most likely either a rigid vinyl or stainless steel insert that pops in here. And there could be options for that as well.
Absolutely. So that's really important to note, Matt, is that on this one, as we go back up to the top of this guide, and let me switch back over here, as we go back up, we've identified that this is the right extrusion, but this insert, as Matt showed you on the sample, is not included, right? So you can see, here's just the rub rail itself. So I need to go back up here to lures, and I need to be able to locate, all right, with lures, I see that they use this, but look, here's the insert, right? So here's the extrusion on page 10, and then the insert is on page 28. So you're able to hike back down here. Hope nobody's getting screen sickness here with me scrolling.
We're doing some moving.
Let's see, page 28, you're able to look at the actual insert itself. First time using a computer, guys, sorry. Let's see here. So on page 28, you can see the insert that actually goes in there, right? And you're able to say, yeah, this is the right one. What do they offer it? And you can see a lot of these are offered in longer lengths, 12 to 20 feet. So just be mindful of that.
Right.
So, right now we kind of walked us through the guide, and we know what we need, but it's not one of these 7, right?
So there's a couple other hurdles to jump through with that.
And so let's talk through that. Right? At this point, you know what you need and you can't necessarily get it. And here's some of the reasons behind that. There are very few people that have a relationship with Taco, like Boat Outfitters. And, one of the things that I do want to note, similar to most manufacturers, is you're not able to have a direct relationship from a business to consumer, right? It's usually B2B,
Right.
they're selling into these OEMs, and so that's where Boat Outfitters comes in.
Right, because Taco won't sell direct to the consumer.
Bingo. So
Exactly.
we are able to, through BoatOutfitters.com and our relationship with Teak Isle and Taco, source those parts for you. Now, some things to note about a special order, right, is that the great thing about these kits we talked about earlier, which you can't see, I'm switched over, but the great thing to note about those is that they picked 7. They picked 7 of the most popular, and they built a ton of them, right? And with that efficiency comes a little bit better of a price-sensitive price point, right? So
They build a bunch, they put them in inventory, they're ready to ship when an order's placed.
right.
There's less hand-holding for a project, there's less cost associated.
Bingo. So, one of the things about special orders is, don't get sticker shock in some cases.
Yeah.
But that could go both ways, right?
Absolutely.
Because you could be spending $300, $450 on a rub rail kit to redo all of the time, energy, work that goes into labor to put that back on the boat all the way around, versus you only need 12 feet of an insert that could be $200, right? So you saved yourself $200 and all the time and effort that's involved there.
Right.
So it could go either way, and we would encourage you to give us a call and kind of talk through your options.
Absolutely.
So with a special order, 3 things that I really want to note is that we need to reach out to Taco to get a price for you, and through that price, be able to come back with you with a price competitive option, where we've got to talk about price. Lead time is important.
Lead
right?
time is going to be very different compared to the 7 kits that we have on the website. For any of the special order materials, the rub rail or the insert, they could be inventoried or warehoused or even need to be manufactured in some cases. So you could be looking at some extended times compared to what you're typically seeing on the Boat Outfitters website.
That's a great point. So, price, lead time, and then the other thing to note about a special order, you see a lot of these, the rub rail kits are able to be raveled up into a box that's, yay by yay, right? The special kits, especially the inserts that are stainless, cannot be rolled up. So we in most cases, a lot of those inserts are going to be in 12, 16, and 20-foot lengths that in most times have to go freight.
Yeah.
Right. So I had a customer recently that needed an insert. I can't recall the boat. It was a
I don't
sport
remember
fish
either.
similar. He's out in Sacramento. For this guy, we were happy to be able to help him out. He'd had this issue. It's dinged up. He couldn't get it anywhere else. Was able to reach out to Boat Outfitters and
Been
solve this
searching for
problem.
months.
So we were able to
find it.
get that shipped direct from Taco out to him in Sacramento and get him fixed up right before the holidays there.
Yeah, he was really thrilled with that. But like to Jared's point, what you'll see, I'll go back to the vinyl that we have on the trim here. This is really thick piece of vinyl. I mean, this isn't going to get rolled up. I can't even make it flex just in my hands.
Yep.
So it's going to have to ship flat in a tube or on a pallet, strapped down and freight. Because you're typically looking, lures, I think 32, 36, sometimes bigger. That's a lot of rub rail you're looking to replace there. So it's not going to be able to be coiled. It'll ship flat. It'll ship freight, and there is an additional cost when you're shipping freight. That's the 3rd hurdle that Jared's working up to.
And we're pulling out all stops, guys. This is something that we mean for it to be educational and really just to give you options. We know that there's nothing more frustrating than trying to find a part and getting a no. And getting a no, and getting a no, and the next place you call tells you no, we don't have it, right?
We try so hard to avoid that.
That's it. So, we want to be a solution for you, but just be transparent in everything that we're going to do to provide you the best service possible. One of the things that I have here to mention about these rub rails, and this would be really cool. We get a request a lot. You can see Matt with this sample chain here. A lot of times a profile and a dimension on that profile is nowhere near as good as holding it in your hand.
Right.
So, we as a provider were able to get this kit. Unfortunately, we don't, and Taco doesn't really send out samples, right? It'd be really nice if they could chop off just a small portion and get it out to the customer to look at. But unfortunately, that's not an option. What is an option, though, is that we are here and committed to being able to find on this chain, the exact one that you need and really get some,
get some good photos,
frame of reference in there, so you know what it looks like exactly. We can shoot those to you, make sure you're getting the right one.
Yeah.
And to that point, with this special order, this is not necessarily as simple as most of the Boat Outfitters product. If you're not satisfied, we want 100% satisfaction with our products. If you're not satisfied with a special order that's shipping from a completely different facility when it comes to rub rail, unfortunately, that's where we don't have a lot of wiggle room, right? You get it and it doesn't work and it's not the right deal. We're going to work with you as best as possible, but no going in on the front end that
the special order rub rail is just, it's challenging.
Shipping 6 pieces of 20-foot inserts back from California to Teak Isle Boat Outfitters, we really don't have a use for that, right? So we're going to do our due diligence to make sure you get the right part before we place the order.
Absolutely, and it's absolutely imperative that goes both ways. We would hope that our customers, anybody who's looking to do a project like this, who needs a special order rub rail, is going to do their due diligence to make sure that we absolutely have the right rub rail and absolutely have the right insert. Because, like Jared's saying, if we order the wrong one of one or the other, there isn't anything we can do about getting it back.
Yep.
And we absolutely, want to work with you the best we can, but we want to be upfront and honest that it's like painting. All your prep work is up front. 90% of painting is in your prep work. If you do it all right from the start, everything's going to be good in the end.
Yeah, and I don't want to go doomsday scenario.
No, I know. I'm sorry. Went a little down a rabbit hole there.
even with me, right? I want to make sure that this is lighthearted, but again, meant to be an educational piece to help the people out there that are in this situation that really don't know what the options are and how to get it. So we welcome Matt. Matt is excellent. Loves talking about boats, and he's got a whole team of people that love talking about boats.
Call us
up. We're going to talk through everything. Really be upfront and give you everything that you need to know to make sure that you're getting fixed up and back on the water. Really, that is the ins and outs of rub rail. If you guys have any questions, it looks like
jump over. Looks like we got one comment.
Let's see. Are those the only rub rail kits we're offering? So that's a question from earlier here in the cast. That's not. We kind of walk through other options. If you're tuning in a little bit late, what we have on the site's not all we carry. We have a lot more.
Right.
Call us up and we'll discuss the details of that. Overall, really, what I would want to say if we don't have any other comments is, we say it every single time. Number one, thanks for joining us. We love having people here live. We are always looking for good content. So if it's something that we didn't answer here in the cast, or if there's
something you'd like to see in the future,
bingo. This content is something that we're creating for our customers as well as our internal staff to be more knowledgeable. But it came from you out there telling us, hey, we what do we do with this rub rail? And internally, we really had to dig in and figure this out. And this is going to become a resource for everybody out there in the boating world. So
absolutely,
please leave us a comment on new content that you want to see generated. We do this every Thursday at noon, right? So we enjoy doing this. It's something that's become really fun to get our team involved. The one thing is I would say is signing off is, again, Matt's got a whole team of people over there that we pay to talk about boats all day.
That's right.
So, a pretty cool
job. Give us a call. We want to talk.
So guys, if there's no other questions or comments, please follow us, look us up below, comment below. Really appreciate you guys stopping by every week. Again, we're excited to continue to generate new content for you. Thank you.